In some more news coming from Manchester, the court has decided the fate of 9 people who they have convicted for the murder of Michael Anton Oconnor. This occurred in the Meadows area of Nottingham on the 10th of November 2021, and the court has heard that they believed that it stemmed from a war over 2 rival gangs and a setup that took place to try to bring somebody there, and Michael was mistaken for that person. Michael was seen as a person who was trying to resolve the issues between these 2 gangs, and they don't believe that he was personally involved. He was 31 years old when he was murdered, and he was from Alexandra Park. He died at the Queen's Medical Centre after police found him collapsed on the pavement at 10:20 p.m. in Wilford Crescent West. A subsequent police investigation found the murder was a culmination of the drug war that had carried out between 2 rival groups, each vying for control of the local drug market. Michael was well known in the area and also well liked, and it was his job to calm tensions between the 2 gangs. His killers mistook him for the intended target, who was a notorious Nottingham drugs kingpin, and it cost Michael his life. Yesterday at Nottingham Crown Court, 11 people went on trial, and 9 of those defendants were found guilty of murder. Benjamin Taylor was responsible for sending a team of dealers from Manchester down to Nottingham to carry out the murder. Leonard Ward was charged with murder, and they believed that he was the head of a gang in the local area. Joseph Boscombe from Manchester was part of the hit team that was sent out to carry out the murder, and Joshua Agboola from Blackburn was also part of the hit team. Paula McGuire was the driver for the hit team, and CCTV showed her driving to and from the murder scene. Michael Mingoes, who is partly believed responsible and the person that delivered the fatal blow, was also from Manchester and part of the alleged hit team. Jerome Sheard from the Meadows was the right-hand man and son of Paula McGuire. Paula Usherwood was the person that is believed to have set up the ambush and had a meeting on the morning of the murder, which is when they arranged the conspiracy to take place. Michael McGuire, another son of Carla, was living at the property next to where the murder took place. 2 further defendants also went on trial for murder but were found guilty of assisting an offender. Kellyanne Shepherd and Gemma Fearon from Macclesfield were convicted for their involvement. Rebecca Bow and Curtis Sheard were found not guilty of murder. The guilty defendants will be sentenced next week. Following today's verdict, Assistant Chief Constable Rob Griffin of Nottingham Police said, "Firstly, our thoughts are with the family of Michael. As someone who was well known in the local area, Michael was asked to be a peacekeeper between 2 feuding groups, and it cost him his life. He was ambushed by men that were heavily armed with a gun, a sword, a knife and an axe, and this makes his murder even more cowardly. They fooled no one, and today the verdicts have ruled that they were guilty of murder." Detective Inspector Rob Roulege, who led the investigation, welcomed the verdict and said 9 of the defendants denied their involvement in this horrific crime, but the jury heard the evidence gathered by the investigation team and found them guilty. The trial went on for 29 weeks, and jury members had to listen to the evidence surrounding the brutal attack and the witness evidence as well that supported the prosecution. Opening the trial last October, the prosecution said Michael had been the victim of a brutal pre-planned ambush and that he died from a stab wound to the heart when the killers mistook him for an intended target that was a drug rival. He said Michael had been sent to Wilford West Crescent by the kingpin, who had been invited there for talks to resolve the escalating war. Mr. Langdale told the jury Michael went unarmed and was seemingly unaware that he was heading into a trap that was intended for the other man. Mr. Langdale told the jury instead of meeting to calm tensions, a carefully planned and organised ambush had awaited him at the hands of a number of heavily armed men. They wanted to settle the dispute once and for all. Evidence suggested that Michael Mingoes plunged the knife into Michael's heart during the ambush. Mr. Langdale said the murder was a joint act by everybody that was involved. Each in turn may have also played a hand in the role of the death. The rivals, the prosecution said, had concluded that they were outgunned by the rival gang and felt the need to bolster their strength by hiring muscle from Manchester to carry out the attack. The court heard Leonard Ward and his right-hand man Jerome Sheard organised for Ward's upstream supplier Benjamin Taylor to send a team of dealers down from Manchester to act as a hit team. The team included Joshua Agboola, Michael Mingoes and Joseph Boscombe, with Gemma Fearon driving the car for them to and from the murder scene. The killing took place outside the address of Carla McGuire, 51 years old, and her sons Michael McGuire and Curtis Sheard were among the 11 defendants charged with Michael's murder that was arranged and planned only hours before it took place. The court heard Paula Usherwood had a brief lunchtime meeting with the leader of the rival group at a pub in the Meadows, with CCTV showing her doing most of the talking. The court heard Paula use the meeting to give the impression she wanted to reduce tensions between the two gangs, when her actual motive was to set up somebody else to get killed. Mobile phone data recalls several calls between each other on that day, involving Paul Usherwood, Michael McGuire, Jerome Sheard and Leonard Ward. All later were charged with Michael's murder. On the afternoon of the murder, Joseph Boscombe, Michael Mingoes and Joseph Agboola travelled from Manchester to Nottingham in car. CCTV showed them stopping off at a shop in Stafford to buy clothing that included a black zip-up night top, which was identical to the one that the police seen at the address of one of the suspects. The trio continued to Wilford Crescent West. This is the scene of the murder, and they arrived at 20 to 5 in the afternoon. CCTV showed them getting out of a Toyota Yaris, carrying rucksacks and being greeted by Michael McGuire, who was wearing a stab-proof vest, before he went inside the house. On the same afternoon, Benjamin Taylor made the same journey from Manchester in a white Audi. Taylor met with Leonard Ward in the West Bridgeford area so that he could receive payment for the murder later that day. Meanwhile, CCTV captured Paula Usherwood and Michael McGuire coming and going from the area around Wilford Crescent and the general Meadows area. At 11 minutes past 10 on the same evening, Paula Usherwood, who arrived earlier in the Toyota Yaris, left the house in Wilford Crescent and appeared to be armed. A minute later, the CCTV of the address was turned off, and it's believed the stabbing took place around 10 minutes after that. Previous footage prior to when the camera was turned off was also deleted, but the police were able to recover it. At 20 past 10 on the same evening, Michael was captured on CCTV, taking what turned out to be his final steps, with footage showing him walking in the direction of his brother's flat along Baffley Street. Following the murder, Paula Usherwood drove the attackers away from the murder scene. Inquiries after the killing led officers to the home of Rebecca Bow, who was captured on CCTV with several of the murder suspects on the day Michael was killed, but was today cleared of murder. The family of Michael paid tribute, and this is one of the most extensive tributes that I've ever read, to be honest, and it really does give an insight into how much he meant to everybody. The family of Michael Anton Oconnor say they are relieved that justice has been served after 9 people were found guilty of his murder. Following the verdicts, the family said it was an inspiration for everybody and he will forever be in our hearts. On the day that he was taken, our family's lives changed forever, and we learnt in the hardest possible way that losing a loved one was a journey and not a one-off. He was a son, a brother, a grandson, a nephew, an uncle, a cousin, and a dear friend to so many people. After his untimely death, Anton became a father to his first child, a daughter who will sadly never have the opportunity to meet her father. It's been over 18 months since he was killed, 81 weeks and 572 days of trauma. Life is no longer about living, they said, it's existing. We manage the bare minimum every single day, waiting to find out the truth about what happened to our son. He was fearless, ambitious, creative and tenacious, and he had an infectious personality. People were drawn to his positive energy. He wasn't your average Joe, and his life reflected that. Anton was born and lived in Nottingham in the Alexandra Park area. He was known for his cheeky smile and lovable laugh, and he grew up and never lost his sense of humour. He appreciated good food, nice cars and tailored fashion, and his Sunday best was his morning best, and that is how he wants to be remembered. Living a fun and progressive life, Anton's final profession became aesthetics. He trained as an aesthetics practitioner and trainer, and described by his academy teacher as a pupil with natural ability. Anton founded his own clinic and training academy, and this was called the Clinic Cosmetics Academy, that was based in Colwich. And this is his aesthetics ethos. The clouds are the sky's imagination. The family were extremely proud of everything that he had achieved in the short time that he was with us. So rest in peace to Michael Anton Oconnor, and my condolences to his family and friends. And this story definitely goes to show that when you think in haste and think of revenge and think of greed, this is all that can come from it. So really appreciate you joining me for this story. I'll be back again very shortly with some more news. Don't forget to like, comment, share and subscribe. And follow on social media as well at scarcitystudios.com. And email us news@scarcitystudios.com. Peace.